Hello everybody, Gary Nesty, Solar Bat Sunglasses. As per many requests that we've had, I'm going to do this video about lenses. Now, many of you may know, but probably a lot of you don't know, that as well as being owner of Solar Bat Sunglasses, I am also an optometrist. I graduated from Indiana University with a Doctor of Optometry. Actually had a Bachelor of Science degree and then got a Doctor of Optometry degree. And as you may or may not know, to be an optometrist, you learn all kinds of information about light, wavelengths, colors of light, so forth and so on. So when I started Solar Bat Sunglasses, I wanted to do something different. I felt like with the knowledge I had that I could make tints that would actually improve performance in your chosen sport. And that's what we strive to do. And I used my theory to develop tints. And then I used professionals in the various sports to verify my theories that the tints that I had designed actually were performance tints. So we'll go through all the series of sunglasses and I'll tell you a little bit about the tints and what they do. First thing I should say is that I used what I call selective wavelength filtration. Now you all know from looking at a rainbow that visible light consists of several colors. Those colors are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. And that's the order that they're in according to the wavelengths. So what selective wavelength filtration is, you can develop tints that will filter more of the wavelengths, thus more of the colors, than it will other colors. So by filtering more of other colors, you can highlight the color that you want to highlight. What you need to do then is decide in each sport what color needs to be highlighted to improve the wearer's performance. So let's start out with the Performance Polarized sunglasses and the Signature Series sunglasses. Essentially, those sunglasses, the Performance Polarized, come in a series of colors, those colors being amber polarized, gray polarized, high contrast yellow polarized, mossback green polarized, amber green mirror, and gray ice blue mirror. Now let me say from the get-go, unlike other sunglass companies that claim they have a green lens, which is actually a brown lens with a green mirror on it, a mirror really doesn't do anything to improve your performance. All it does is it decreases the light transmission of the lens by about 5% and gives it some cosmetic appearance. So greens are valuable, or mirrors are valuable, from the standpoint that if it is a bright sunny day and you want to filter as much light as possible, you can go with a gray lens with an ice blue mirror. And that gray lens typically will filter about 14 to 15% of the light, and you put a mirror on it and it's going to drop it down to about 9 or 10% of the light. The amber lens will filter about 16 or 17% of the light, and you put a mirror on it and it's going to drop it down to 13 or 14% of the light. So it will have a tendency to darken the tint to give you more filtration. That's all it does, other than cosmetics, making the lens look neat with a mirror on the front. You're not going to make yourself see greens better because you got a green mirror on your tint. Just not going to happen. You're not going to make blue look better because you got a blue tint on a mirror on your lens. It just doesn't work that way. The tint has to be in the lens. So first of all, let me start with a gray lens. A gray lens is what's called a neutral density lens. And a gray lens will filter all wavelengths equally. So when you have a gray lens on, red still looks red, orange still looks orange, yellow still looks yellow, green looks green, blue looks blue, violet looks violet. It filters all of them equally. So the relationship between the wavelengths doesn't change. Now, for years and years and years, a lot of fishermen have worn an amber lens. And what an amber lens does, it's a brown type lens. We have that lens, so I'm not saying anything about a brown lens because we don't offer it. We offer it. But a brown lens will highlight browns. It will brighten things a bit in flat light. And for years, fishermen have worn an amber lens and touted the value of an amber lens for sight fishing. And there are certain areas where an amber lens works good. Let's say you're sight fishing for smallmouth bass. Smallmouth are predominantly gold or brown. So that brown lens is actually going to heighten the visibility of that brown and golden brown in that smallmouth. So a brown lens could very well be the lens of choice when you're smallmouth fishing. So it does have applications. And the real downside to a brown lens is that brown highlights brown, which means if you're in muddy or off-color water, it's going to look muddier than it does with your naked eye. It's not going to help you at all. As a matter of fact, it's going to hinder you when you're in muddy water. Now, next tint we'll talk about is the high contrast yellow. And it is what it says. It's a high contrast tint. And it has sort of a yellowish green look. And it is an excellent tint on that really overcast, cloudy day because it will brighten everything up. I've got some fishermen out there that they just wear that high contrast yellow all the time. You know, I'll be honest with you, I cannot do it. It's just when the sun is bright, it's just too bright a lens. It's an excellent low light lens, but in my opinion, it was not designed to be a bright sunny day lens, but it will help you see underwater structure, fish in shallow waters, sight fish and so forth. When it's a cloudy day or you're in the shadows, it definitely will do that. Let me tell you another aspect of that lens. If you fish areas that have tannic water, and tannic water is sort of a different bird. You know, at first glance, you would think tannic water is dirty water, but tannic water is not dirty water. It's clear water. It just has a brown tint. I oftentimes liken it to a glass of iced tea. A good glass of iced tea is not cloudy. I mean, you can mess up a glass of iced tea and it'll be cloudy. But a good glass of iced tea is clear, but it's brown. You can see right through it, but it's brown. And in that kind of water, tannic water, hands down, I don't care then whether it's a bright sunny day or a cloudy overcast day, you will see things underwater, fish, beds, laydowns, so forth. You'll see it better with that high contrast yellow than you will any other tint out there, period. I don't care who makes it. I don't care if it's any of the big names. You put on our high contrast yellow and you will double your performance in tannic water. Really, really helpful. The last lens that I'm going to talk about is the mossback green. And this is a pure green lens. It is purely green. The advantage of a pure green lens is because a pure green lens will highlight green. It'll make green more visible. It makes green pop. The side benefit to a green lens is it filters brown. So you've got a lens that will make weed lines, points in the weeds, pockets in the weeds, holes in the weeds, largemouth, Kentucky bass in shallow water. It's going to make them more visible. It's going to make them pop. The second advantage is if you're in muddy or off-color water, I can guarantee you that water is going to look about 20 to 25% less muddy with a Mossback green lens on than it does with any other tint. And it's especially going to be the best lens of choice in muddy water over a brown lens. Do not want to wear a brown lens in muddy water. If you don't have a Mossback green, put on a gray one. Brown will make muddy water look muddier. Green will make muddy water look less muddy. Now I can tell you that on a flat light day, Mossback green will work as good as amber. It's going to brighten everything a little bit. I'll be honest with you, Mossback is the only tint I wear. If it's a really bright sunny day, I'll probably put on a gray lens with an ice blue mirror. But under all circumstances, Mossback is the tint of choice. That's the tint I wear. We'll get more into that when we get into other series. But those are the tints. I won't talk about anything about the amber mirror or the gray mirror because we've already talked about amber and gray as a tint, and we've already talked about what a mirror does. So we'll move on now to the Signature series. And the Signature series is very similar to the Performance Polarized series, but the Signature series does not have the high contrast yellow lens. But the Signature series does have the gray lens, it has the amber or brown lens, and it has the Mossback green lens. It does not offer any of the mirrors. So everything that goes for those tints in the Polarized Performance goes for those tints in the Signature series. Now we'll jump to our driving series. And we do have a license with General Motors to do Corvette, Camaro, and Chevy. So if you drive one of those types of vehicles, you can get our driving tints. But also you can order any of our frames with the driving tint, because basically the driving tint is Mossback green. That's our driving tint. It's our sight fishing tint for the fisherman. It's our driving tint for the person who spends a lot of time in his automobile. Now here's the real advantage. The real advantage to that Mossback green is if it's raining. If it's daylight and it's raining, even if it's raining hard enough that people are pulling over to the side of the road, you put on the Mossback green tint and you're going to make yourself a safer driver. You're going to, in many instances, just see through the rain. The first time I experienced this was driving to a show in eastern Tennessee, and it was storming, and there were people pulling over the side of the road. And way up ahead of me, I could tell there was an automobile up there, because when he hit his brakes, I could see his brake lights. So I thought, well, this is going to be a good test. I'm going to put on these Mossback greens. So I put on the Mossback greens, and it was a wow factor. I mean, I could now see that car. Not just when he put his brakes on, but I could see that car. And my theory is what happens is that green, being a higher contrast lens, enables everything to brighten up just a bit. And the polarization takes the glare, takes the reflection off the raindrops, so it allows you to see through them. Just like a polarized lens takes the glare off the surface of the water and allows you to see under the surface. The only way you're seeing rain, it doesn't rain muddy raindrops. It rains clear raindrops. The way you see those clear raindrops is whatever available light there is, it reflects off those raindrops. If it's pouring down rain and it's dark as can be outside, if it's after dark, you can hear the rain. You can see it when it hits the sidewalk, so forth, but you can't see the rain because there's no light to reflect, or very little light to reflect off that raindrop so that you can see it. So the polarization takes that glare off the rain and allows you to see through it. So if you do a lot of driving, you need to wear that Mossback green lens for driving. It will make you a safer driver, period. Now we'll move on to, let's take golf next. For years and years and years, it's been said that golfers should not wear sunglasses. But let me tell you, we developed a spin-off of the Mossback green polarized. We developed a spin-off of that, and we call it Performance Golf Green. And that Performance Golf Green will highlight the contour and the grain on the greens. I can't make you a better golfer with a pair of sunglasses. I can't make you hit your drives farther. I can't do that with a pair of sunglasses. What I can do is make you a better putter. And as the old saying goes, drive for show, putt for dough. I can make you knock scores off your handicap, points off your handicap, by helping you see the grain and the contours of the green more prominently. And I've tested this with golfers all the way from the once or twice a month hackers all the way up to a professional, which I won't name. But everybody says the same, that it does help you see the contours and the grain on the green. Now we also offer a Performance Golf Brown, because there are areas of the country where the grass on the greens has a little more brownish tint, and or if it's been really dry and the course has not been watering the grass really well and it gets a little more of a brownish tint to it, then that Performance Golf Brown will work a little better. But predominantly, under most all circumstances on the golf course, the Performance Golf Green will work better. Same theory. We're using that lens to block certain wavelengths, or filter certain wavelengths, not block them, but filter them down and highlight others. So it really highlights that grass on the green, so you see the shadowed areas, the brighter areas, you see what way the grass is slanting. It will make you a better golfer by making you a better putter. Now we'll jump into tennis. And tennis is, as all of you know, is a sport that uses a yellow ball. So we developed this tennis tint from a tint that is sort of a aqua turquoise tint, which is an excellent tint because it really makes that yellow ball pop. It makes it more visible. But here's the problem. When I make a tint to make that yellow ball more visible, when you look up into the sky on the serve, or if your opponent hits a lob and you look up into the sky, guess what? The sun's yellow, so it's going to brighten the sun. So we had to come up with a system that would brighten the ball at court level, but not blind you or bleach out your retina as much when you looked up into the sky. So we came out with our tennis gradient, which is the tennis tint in the lens, but we added a gray gradient about 25-30% of the way down, so that when you're looking straight ahead or looking down at court level, you got that tint to highlight that ball and make it more visible. When you look up into the sky with your eyes, you hit the gray tint and it keeps from blinding you when you look up into the sky. So excellent tint, very well received by tennis players. We've been at some tennis tournaments where sunglasses were purchased and then went back to those tournaments the next year, and virtually everybody that's bought a pair the year before that's there that year comes around and says, hey, great glasses, my wife wants a pair, or great glasses, I want a backup pair. We had one tennis pro out in California who actually sort of dedicates himself to the science of tennis. And he said when he looks in the sky with our tennis tent and to serve and then back down to court level, when the ball's returned, it makes him adapt to the different level of light about a second quicker. And I can tell you, a second on the tennis court with a ball coming at you is a lot of feet, and he just won't be without it. So that's our tennis tent. That's the theory behind it. Now let's see, we've done performance polarized, we've done signature polarized, we've done driving, we've done golf, we've done tennis. So, you know, that pretty much covers the tents that we do and the theory behind it. And let me tell you something, this is science. This is true theory. This is an optometrist owning a sunglass company that uses optics, wavelengths, and science to develop tints that will make you perform better in your chosen sport. You can count on that. Now, the way we design the lenses, we have to put, we call it preferred natural vision, PNV, and we do a PNV X, which is preferred natural vision extra. And now we're into our second and third generation of those lenses. And I have designed them to be optically correct. I've done some work with thickness variation from the nasal edge to the temporal edge that will relieve all of the effects that can cause you to feel taller or shorter, things to be farther away, things to be larger, smaller. They're really an optically correct lens. And we build them out of the best materials you can build them out of, the highest impact resistance. We just simply have as good an optically correct lens as there is on the market. I'll put our lenses up against lenses in sunglasses that cost 2 or 3 times more. You're going to get more value per dollar spent with a pair of solar bats from an optics and tint standpoint than you will any other tint. And it's because we're using science, sound science, to develop those lens tints to make you a better performer. Mount the lenses in the best frame material, the best frame designs we can. And I think if you get a pair of solar bat sunglasses, you'll never go back to others. The other neat thing about the price point of our glasses is, as a fisherman, the truth is you really need more than one tint. I think once you get a mossback green, you're going to wear it most of the time, but there's going to be circumstances where you need the high contrast yellow. There's going to be circumstances when you need the amber. There's going to be circumstances when you need the gray ice blue mirror. When you're on that, doing offshore fishing, bright sunshine, it's reflecting, not a cloud in the sky, reflecting off the water, you're going to need that darkest lens possible. That's when you go to the gray with the ice blue mirror. If you're driving, mossback's the best. We've tested it against other tints, and it does not do for you what the mossback green will do when you're driving. When you're golfing, you need to have a pair of both of those, performance golf brown, performance golf green, because you're going to run into different shades of green on the greens, and you're going to have to try one on, try the other, see which makes you see the best. Of course, with the tennis lens, we only do the one tint. So, one thing I forgot to mention is our newest, and that's our computer lenses. Now, you remember I said that how the spectrum works, and at the far end of the spectrum is the blue and the violet. And computer screens, digital screens, so forth and so on, put off a lot of blue light. And within that blue spectrum, there is blue up to a point, and then there's what's called HEV. And HEV is a high energy blue. That's the culprit. That's what causes dry eyes. That's what causes eye strain. That's what causes interruption in your sleep cycles. And I'm not going to tell you that everybody in the world is sensitive to that, because there's some people that are going to say, well, I use a computer all the time and it never bothers me. Yeah, there's people like that out there. But there are people out there that will give them dry eyes, which feels like somebody threw sand in your eyes. It'll give them eye strain, and it'll interrupt and affect their sleep cycles. There are those people out there. Now, there are lenses out there that tout computer lenses. Most of those lenses are a clear lens with a blue and a reflective coating on them, and they don't do very much. There's a few out there that have a yellowish lens with an anti-reflective coating on it. And those two, the blue anti-reflective coating on a clear lens and the yellow with a blue anti-reflective coating, they'll get pretty much filter the blue light, but they stop short of getting the HEV. And the HEV is the light that causes the problem. We spent a year or two developing this, and this tint that we have is a skin tone tint. It's a tan tint. And it also has the blue anti-reflective coating on it. So we're using the blue anti-reflective coating to get that blue light up to HEV. And the only tint there is, and I've got filtration studies and filtration curves, wavelength curves, and all this, that, a lot of scientific data. Our tan tint is the only tint that's effective on the HEV. So if you want to use your computer and your screens more comfortably, then you need to get our tennis and gaming tint, or excuse me, not tennis, our computer and gaming tint. It will make you more comfortable. I've used it over and over again in my optometry office. During the pandemic shutdown, when all the kids were at home on the computer screens all day long and then gaming all night long, all evening long, I had kids coming in the office to get their eyes examined because they were having eye strain and discomfort and so forth, and I'd find nothing whatsoever wrong. And I'd just prescribe a pair of the computer gaming glasses. And I always told these kids, hey, take them home, wear them. If they don't stop your headaches and stop your eye strain, bring them back. I'll give you your money back. I've been doing that since the pandemic started. I've never gave anyone back their money. As a matter of fact, some of those people came back, got a pair for themselves, got a pair for their other child, so forth and so on. They really, really do work. And there's a lot of studies out there that talk about the effects of blue light. Now, there's studies out there that says it has no effect, but I just don't give those studies a lot of credence because of my experience in my optometry office with people who are having problems. So again, this gets back to science. This is not somebody that owns a sunglass company just trying to hype something up to sell it to you. This is an optometrist with degrees to show that I know about wavelengths and the effects on the light. You know, the good Lord made our eyes. When He made our eyes, He made them to function best toward the middle of the spectrum. So that they still function pretty good on this far end, they still function pretty good on that far end, but they function best in the middle. Blue is at a far end. So the human eye has trouble focusing blue light clearly. So it's this constant struggle to get that blue light into focus that causes some people to have headaches and eye strain. So this is the science behind our tints. I wanted to do this video to let everybody know that it's not just hype. There is science behind this. I hope you found this video interesting. I hope the video was not too technical. I know the video was fairly long, but I had a lot of information to put out. We've got a lot of tints. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please hit that like button, like the YouTube channel, share it. There's guess a bell icon that you can hit to give notifications when we're doing another video. But we really appreciate you watching. We hope you learned something from it and gained something from it, and we hope you'll try a pair of SolarBat sunglasses, because they are really scientifically proven to help you perform better in your chosen sports activities. And let's face it, any of those sports activities that I mentioned, performance is about 80% visual. If you don't believe it, go out and try to play tennis with a blindfold on, or go out and try to put somebody else's glasses on that blurs your vision and try to hit a return. Try to pitch under a tree limb with somebody else's glasses on. All these sports are visual. That's where we're going to help you perform better visually. And if we can make you perform better visually, we're going to make you enjoy your sport more. We're going to make you more comfortable. We're going to make you more competitive if you're into competitive sports. And just try a pair. Try a pair. You won't go back. Best value out there, best tints out there. And again, really appreciate you watching, and tell your friends about the video. And we'll be doing another video probably in a week or so. And if you have any ideas what you'd like for us to talk about, you can always email those to SolarBat, and we will talk about whatever you want to talk about. Thanks for watching. Bye.